All right, welcome to the most compelling show on TV, talking about The Desk, where we look at very silent issues, making rounds and giving very deep analysis on the way forward as regards any problems concerning issues raised on this program. Today's edition promises to be quite revealing as we're looking at very interesting things in different sectors. So we'll begin from the health sector. We'll be looking at the Healthcare Act concerning hospitals defying the compulsory treatment care for victims of a gunshot, according to the act that was recently signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari. We've got the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, complaining that hospitals across Nigeria are not adhering to that that law that says every hospital in Nigeria should, as a matter of urgency, attend to gunshot victims with or without the police clearance. Also, we'll be looking at the sectorial debate that has been on since December, where the House of Representatives have been talking to different sectors. They talked to the security sector in December. Now it's the economy, and we have been told that the Minister of the Economy and the CBN governor are currently speaking with the lawmakers in the House of Rep. We'll also be looking at the NAFDAC ban on beverages, alcoholic beverages. So Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria had their protest in Lagos today to protest the fact that the alcoholic sachet is being banned. Then we'll be looking at the civil service rot, talking about the corruption in the civil service, where illegal payment of monies into private accounts hit 159 trillion naira in 6 years. We'll be looking at that and other big stories. And the man charged with the responsibility to do this is not a person, but Lugbenga George, one of the finest journalists Nigeria has, unearthed, and I'm so glad to have him in the studio. Always a pleasure having him here.
Thank you so
George,
much.
nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's begin our talking point from the healthcare sector. We've got Mohammed Pate, Professor Mohammed Pate, saying the non-compliance of the Act of compulsory treatment of and care of victims of gunshot. Now, do you think it's now obvious that the hospitals probably are not adhering to the oath they swore to protect lives and to care for lives, even with the federal government giving them the go-ahead to treat gunshot? Why is it hard for them to comply?
It's quite sardonic, my friend, I must say. It is very sad, to have people who are saddled with the responsibility of taking care of seeing to it that people's lives are preserved and prioritized.
Okay.
I believe it is one of the trainings, of those in the medical field.
Yeah.
And there are certain professions that, getting into them ordinarily, should go beyond what you are to gain.
So it's more like a calling, right?
It's a calling. It's like you're talking about the work of journalism.
Yeah, true.
It is a calling. If you go there, if you go into it
based on you just want a job or
want you to get, you probably will not make any success out of it. And it's very sad, especially because it's been prevalent, in the Nigerian space over time. We've had several number of people who lost their lives due to the fact that they could not be attended to by medical practitioners. If you've been to any of the hospitals yourself, I've been opportune to witness a few, and it was a very sad situation. There was this time ago, some years back, in I think in Oyo State, where I saw somebody, moving victims on his own. I think he was traveling and realized that they were involved in an accident, and he decided to put them in the car and take them to the hospital. And the hospital was insisting that he comes with a police report. And these people were bleeding and dying. Everybody came out, all of us that were there, said, treat these people first.
Yeah.
They said, what if he's this or that? Whatever he is, the deed has been done.
True.
These people are innocent. Let them get the first aid. Make sure that, they don't die. That's the
which
work
is paramount.
That's the work of those in the healthcare sector.
Yeah.
So it's so sad, when we now continue to have debates about whether they should they should treat people first of all. It is inhumane in my own side, and it is totally against what that profession represents. Now, talk less of when the government and the country
Has
have
given the
noticed
go-ahead.
this, that this is a trend and, you know, it is something that we need to address. On the part of the government, I think they have done what is necessary, which is by going ahead to make it a law.
But what of the enforcement?
That we're coming there. They have gone ahead to make it a law to say, look, whoever you find, victims of gunshots, forget the police report, forget whatever you need, go ahead and treat them. After all, you don't treat such people in a day. They are going to be there. Yes.
And they're not going to run away.
They're not going to run away. They have families that you will reach out to, and then when they are being treated, the security forces can now engage into their jobs, which is to go and do search, to go and find out how did these people get there, how did these events happen, you know, and even if they happen to be culprits, if they happen to be found wanting, they can be detained after the treatment. You know, but where medical personnel go ahead to say, you have to pay this, you have to do that, and it's not just gunshot victims. You've seen people who are about to give birth. You know that their life depends on this thing. And then you just hold them to the jugular. I mean, how much can we crave for money? How much can we really love money in this country? You know, where we compare to the value of human lives. It is very sad, and I hope that this act... okay, so you were talking about the enforcement,
yes,
which is another responsibility that falls on the shoulder of the government. It is also commonplace in Nigeria, you know, to make a law, and then you are waiting, you are hoping that this law will just take effect on its own, and no enforcement. You know, Tony, I noticed something recently, that when government is concerned, where government will be the recipient of a particular policy, you know, they will stand by it
to ensure
that it is done. Let's take, for example, you look at the FCT right now. If you park in any public space for more than 5 minutes, in fact, before you come back, while you're even sitting in your car, you already have you know, the ticket, and they're telling you to pay. So that's to tell you this government is serious. We want to generate revenue. So when it comes to government and how they will benefit, they don't withhold anything.
We see them with their different uniforms and different areas.
A government actually exists. But when it comes to the side of the people, and then you see them paying lip service, you just see them just make the... After all, we have made the rules, and you expect the rules to just happen on its own. You know that humans, I don't want to say we have this animalistic nature, you know, so we need to be coerced. That is why there is enforcement. So when you make a law and there is no plan for you to enforce that law, you have also made no plan, you know, because you have to make a plan to ensure that these laws that have been made is actually followed through. And you also make punishments available for deterrence, so that people who now deter, people who refuse to obey it, when they receive punishment, they will serve as deterrent for those who are also planning to disobey the law. So it's very simple, and this is why crime across all facets of our existence as a nation continues to fester. We must take it seriously, especially where human life is concerned. Human life is the priority. The number one responsibility of government is to protect the lives and property of its citizens. And any government that fails to do that is not fit to be government. So if our leaders, if those in government will not wake up to their responsibility to ensure that they make laws and that these laws are enforced to the letter, then we should all go back to the state of anarchy. Everybody should continue to be their own government. What is the essence?
All right, talking about enforcement, still talking about enforcement, what's the role, where do the civil society organizations, the security agencies come into play, the judiciary come into play? Let's assume the government has not fully made sure the enforcement. Can the citizenry, can civil society organizations, can NGOs come in? Can we have a legal aid, do pro bono for citizens who have been denied this care and probably a loved one is lost? Is this not where we're supposed to see pro bono cases by those who also want to become SAN, Senior Advocate of Nigeria? Because one of the criteria is you should have a percentage of pro bono cases you must have. Shouldn't this where the CSOs should hold the judiciary, the bar to account to say how many of these pro bono cases have you done?
Well, you know, that's a very interesting question and a very interesting perspective. But we should start from that civil society organizations you're talking about. What do they focus on? Most of them. What in Nigeria, let's say it for real.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I happen to be a part of one or two, and I'm not denying the fact that
that's why I asked you, because I know you have some.
There are some serious ones,
yeah.
you know, there are some serious ones. But most civil society organizations have a focus, an area of focus.
Okay.
So for those whose area of focus is on human rights and the preservation of human life,
Right, yeah.
you know, then this should be a wake-up call. This should be an area where they focus upon. That's on the one hand. But you and me know, most people just want. I have said it before, and I continue to say that what you call civil society or activists they're actually cashivists. Yeah, they just want cash. They just want the cash to
So they only focus
on the international fundings to come, so that, you know, on the surface they can just dress up some stuff and look like we are doing this project. But we really know where, you know, that fund is going. So we must hit it on the head. One of the things that I realize is that there is no regulation, you know, for civil society in Nigeria. There is nobody that is actually taking up that responsibility to say, how much funding have you gotten? Where is this funding going?
There was a time the government was trying to say any funding coming has to go through the government. Wasn't that mischievous of the government?
It is not mischievous.
Coming through the government coffers.
It is not mischievous, my friend. The truth of the matter is, how much have come to this country in terms of AIDS over the years? You remember Bill Gates during the lockdown?
Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation.
Melinda Foundation. They came to Nigeria when they were in Borno. He wept because of what he saw, looking at, you know, the amount of donation that has come from the Gates Foundation to Nigeria. You know, so most of this money is papered away. They don't get to do what they are meant to do, really. So there has to be a task force. There has to be, and that's where enforcement that we're talking about comes in. So if everybody just goes on a laissez-faire agenda, and, you know, nobody's checking to see, and then some people go and they just sit down and make negotiations and come up with concoct, you know, stories and issues, and then they say we are this, we are supporting this or that. It's all a lie. So we need to be monitored. The civil society really needs to be monitored in Nigeria. Yes, some are doing very well, but many are not. And they must wake up to that responsibility. And nobody will wake them up except, you know, the government stands up to its position and its responsibility. So when the government says, well, this funding should come through us, well, maybe not, because even the government fund, where is it going to in the first place? So, but there can be negotiations, there can be measures of control. It would not come to the government, but the government can be in the know of what's coming to, you know, individuals' accounts. The government can be in the know of that. And I guess that's why, you know, you had all this KUMO, you know, to control financial fraud and all of that. But it has to go beyond that. Government needs to take it serious. That's for the civil society. Now, you talked about the judiciary.
Yes.
You also know that even lawyers that want to do pro bono service, they still ask the question underneath, what's in it for me? So
the pro bono means
I know.
So why
you say it's pro bono, you also know that.
So is it like the police, when the police say bail is free, but with signposts?
Or let me even say, salvation is free. You must buy a Bible. You must
buy the Bible is even good. You pay for the prayers.
So you know how it is. So yes, it is pro bono, but will it bring them the necessary popularity that they want from this? That's one of the issues that you also look at. I know there are some beautiful lawyers actually in this country, you know, who go ahead, who take their time to take up people. But what's the figure? What's the number where it compares to the demand, you know, for this? A lot of people, you know, do not get justice in Nigeria, not because they don't have cases, you know, but they don't have people to really take them through it. And you know the number of people that are in prison, and many of them, you know, that haven't even been tried. The Minister of Interior said that some time ago. So, a lot of them are just there, they are remanded. A lot of people are remanded. If the pro bono, if the legal practitioners are actually doing work, you will see them, they will go to courts and they will ask, you know, prisoners, they have the right to do that by the law, to say, what's your case? We want to take it up. They know they have case files. Every criminal, everybody in prison has a case file. Why don't they go there, pick up these case files and check their history and ask the necessary questions, do the necessary research, and then begin to liberate people and decongest our prisons? But what do we have? So we need to go back, to it. I think Nigerians and Africans generally, we need to go back to being human. We need to go back to the essence of our individualities, of our humanity, which is that it is not just for my self-aggrandizement. It is not just for my own benefit. As long as it pays me, I don't give a damn about who else doesn't get paid. It is wrong. It is a wrong mentality, and it will lead us into destruction as a society.
All right, let's take, finally, still talking on the healthcare. What role can the ministry, the bodies, the individual health bodies, we have the NMA and others, what role can they play in terms of seizing licenses of hospitals that have been fingered to not comply with the compulsory treatment of victims of gunshots? Can they play a key role when a doctor knows, or the MD of a hospital knows, my license will be taken from me if I deny a gunshot victim treatment and care?
That is easy for a private hospital, right? You can take the license of a private hospital. But what happens in government hospitals?
No, but even if it's government, the fact that once a complaint is...
So what we will say is that the doctors, that denies patients
that whoever is on call,
whoever is supposed to take responsibility for that day, that refuses or denies any victim of gunshots or any other one that falls under that law.
Category,
if they deny, there should be strict punishment,
which has to do with their licenses.
It depends on the gravity. If somebody loses their life, I don't think that person should continue to practice.
Okay.
Yes, they should, but there are different levels to it. So depending, but the Nigerian Medical Association can come up with very standing rules, that can control some of these things internally. So the body, as a professional body, will first of all set its rule, and then submit to government to say, this is what we have done. Then government will know that they are serious. So when there is a laxity, we know where the laxity is coming from. But the body already has set up itself, and we know for sure that this is where this body is aiming toward, and this is their rule, this is their principle, and they are standing by this principle, with every fiber of their being. And then government, we can now begin to look at, okay, how serious is government about this? It's easy to criticize government, it's easy, and because government is government, it is not about an individual. It becomes difficult to actually hold someone, to power. And, I have had a conversation with someone, and I think I should bring you here before, who talks about the Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, which says that it is injusticiable, where you cannot sue a government to court. Okay, so I just said earlier that the responsibility of government, is to secure the lives and property of its citizens. When you employ or when you elect a politician, for example, it is a franchise. You are saying, we are saddling you with this responsibility. You go ahead and do it for us. But we know what happens in Nigeria and in Africa generally. So when you employ them, you are supposed to be their boss. The citizen is the boss of the legislator, is the boss of the politician, of the executive. As long as, the people gave you their mandate through a vote. Yes, so you are supposed to be answerable to the people. But the reverse is the case here. And I think we need to revisit that. For those who, just go there and believe that, well, I've crossed the masses threshold, I am now in the elite of the society, it is difficult to reach me here because the gap between the elite and the masses. And
probably the immunity that covers them also.
A lot of things, before official immunity, before you even begin to talk about that, look at the economic gap between these two people. They can almost never meet. They can almost never meet. So that gap needs to be filled, and the best way it can be filled is when the people, who are the masses, have the rights and responsibility to demand accountability from those who they elected into power, and when they are able to do it to the highest minimum. Well, the provision is in the law that you can recall, a lawmaker, but we all know that.
How cumbersome it was. Even when Dino Melaye was almost...
I remember that.
It took forever.
And the case went on and it never happened. So what has not happened in the country, which means that there is something wrong with that law. So we need to visit it. We need to make it easy for the people to be able to recall whoever they sent to represent them if he's not representing them. And there are several ideas, coming on in this regard that, from our end as civil society, some of civil society we belong to, where these conversations are going on. And I know that in due time, it won't come easy, especially because it still has to go through the same set of legislators.
Who would not want it to work?
Who would not want it to work? So, but with time, I know that some of these things will begin to take effect. It may take a while, though.
All right, well, let's move on to the second talking point. We're looking at big issues making the rounds in Nigeria. And next, we're looking at the sectorial debate that is ongoing in the National Assembly, House of Reps. Specifically, they started in December. They faced the security sector. Right now, they are looking at the the financial sector, where currently, as we speak, the CBN governor in the person of Yemi Cardoso and also the coordinating minister of finance is also Wale Edun is talking to the House of Rep members as regards what they know about the economy, how they can change the fortunes of the Naira and the sufferings of average Nigerian. For you, do you think this is just another waste of taxpayers' money, time, or do you think this actually, whatever recommendations, whatever is gotten from this or this discourse is going to yield something positive? Because they've done with the security sector, where the civil service chiefs were, brought in front of them. But insecurity is even worse.
Thank you for making that last statement. So where I was going to start up from was, okay, the service chiefs were actually invited, and have the security situation in the country
improved?
Has it improved since the time that they had these conversations? I'll tell you the truth, no. Now, it's something that you and me know. I mean, instead of it
it's skyrocketed.
I mean, it's exacerbated by I don't even know what.
I know. Okay.
You find out that instead of, like Yoruba people will say, instead of the child of the woman to...
You can say to you that makes it easier.
They say the kakakoso something. There is a way they say it. Instead, okay, so let's forget about it. Looks like Yoruba is not my thing. Okay, but basically, they say that when instead of the woman, to get better, she gave birth to five daughters who are witches, something like that. Yeah. That's how I say. That's like the Nigerian situation. So we go, and it is almost traditional of us as a country. There are burning issues. There are very serious issues that we should address, and we are very good at organizing events where all of us will gather, and we will come to all form of seriousness, and we will call the media into it, and we will talk and come up with resolutions and recommendations. My brother, the question is, all the recommendations that has been coming for all these years, why have they not worked? Have we seen that Nigerians who gather together, to have these deliberations, are they dumb people? You see, the truth is that I feel somehow, that we are not really ready to attack our issues from the roots. We just touch them on the surface, we gloss over them.
Is it because the elite are those who are our problems? The fear or the political will to...
Let's just hate it for what it is. The truth is that this country is populated by two sets of people. 1% against 99%. 1% are those in power. 99% are those that are not in power. 1% are those who are comfortable. 99 are those who are not. And, those who are on the other side happen to be victim of everything. Yeah, there are selected cases or selective cases where, like the issue of insecurity now, it has now come, to the doorsteps of every Nigerian. But that from 2009, when it started, if you calculate the number of people who have lost their lives, how many rich kids, how many people in power have lost their family? Yeah, we've had a few. We've had some who were kidnapped. In fact, you talk about the kidnapping business itself. It has come to a point where these people have realized that this is our own way of maybe, you know, changing our story, our financial fortune, if we can successfully carry this out, which is wrong, by the way.
But don't you think there's also this Afenifere made some comments some weeks back saying they believe people in government are those responsible, because if you look at the huge amount of money being requested for recently, and recently we noticed that the amount being asked for suddenly is so humongous.
It doesn't have to be, Afenifere, yes, with all respect to them, you know, they are fathers and all of that, and maybe they may have a point, but it doesn't really have to be sponsored or politically motivated. See, the margin is wide. I mean, the margin is wide. So if a poor man that lives on the same street with the son of a rich man, he sees how he lives in affluence and flagrant opulence on a daily basis, he knows that what it will cost him to eat and take care of his bills for a year is what somebody spends on taking care of his dogs. I'm not talking of human beings now. When he knows, because at the end of the day, it's still these masses that will go and run the errands for them. They are the ones that will go and buy this stuff that the dogs will eat. So they know how much the dog food costs. And they know how much they need in a month to take care of their families. And they know that it doesn't even measure up. So it's more like their life is not even worth the value of a rich man's dog. A poor man in Nigeria a poor man's life is not worth the value of a rich man's dog. Talk less of children. Talk less of possessions. Talk less of investment. You know, talk less of the quality of lives that they live. So the major challenge in Nigeria, you know, we can go back and forth and talk about it, is that you also remember, though a lot of people castigate it, and, you know, it is not a very, very balanced or correct way of looking at things. But you remember the cleric, the kidnappers and Boko Haram from the north.
Are you talking about Sheikh Gumi?
Sheikh Gumi, yes. Yeah. He said what these people want are the things that every normal Nigerian wants, especially from the north. He said they want good education. They want good roads. They want to live in convenient places. So these are basically, it is the quest that every human being that is alive wants, desires. And as long as this lacuna continues to widen, I mean, insecurity, instability will not reduce in the country. So with respect to this, I feel that we need to look for a way, you know, to close these gaps. That's just the base. That's the fundamental of this entire conversation. Government has to be serious, knowing fully well that their children will be victims. They will be victims. You know, when you talk about kidnapping, does this support the target?
Does this support what the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, did mention when he said good governance is one of the panacea to this insecurity?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, that's my problem again.
Because he made this comment when
all of them make the comments. I mean, it's just a show.
But is that not also an indictment on the part of the government
of the government itself? That's why they put up a show. So when they have to talk in public, they know what ought to be said. You know, so it's just for the stage. As a statesman, this is how you should talk. These are the words you should say. We want to see you move from words to action.
True.
And we want this action to reflect, you know, on the lives of ordinary Nigerians. That's all. There is no need for, you can talk so smoothly. You can, you know, have the best script. You have the privilege. I write some, you know, some very interesting things, you know, for people to read. Yeah, it's good. They can do all that. Pay some people to, you know, come up with the best script, but we must know that we're all humans. And as humans, as long as we do not consider other people, you know, how to raise them, how to make them enjoy the benefit of this country, peace will not elude anybody. I mean, peace will elude everybody. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's on the final note, as regards this talking point. Do you see some bit of civil unrest, you know, emerging from all these issues? Because recently in Niger State,
I was going to say, you are going to say, do I see? We are sitting on the keg of gunpowder. It will only take a while. They say if you chase a goat, it will get to a point, it will turn back. That's how Yoruba put it. So you chase the goat, it gets to a point, what exactly am I even running from? Then it faces you. When it faces you, be careful. And that is where we are going. You know, that is how we saw the End SARS protest of 2020 that demanded ordinary for the police
to end brutality.
Nigerians better. That was the call, and that call started from End SARS, End police brutality. You know where it ended. So there is venom inside many Nigerians. There is outright venom. They are sad. They wish there is something they could do to just, but there is nothing they can do. So at every single opportunity that they have to express these things through protest, in fact, they don't care. You say they are destroying lives and property. I am not supporting violence, and I advise every Nigerian, this is very wrong. You cannot destroy public properties. You cannot seek for peace. You cannot say you are looking for peace. You are looking for prosperity by destroying what is already being done. So this is not a tacit approval, for violence in the society. But our government must know that when you have gatherings in one small place, they have the police, by the way, so they can always disperse people when they gather. That's why they don't even want it to happen. Most times, the people in Niger State you are referring to were tear gas.
Yeah.
So,
but wasn't that a wrong approach? Wouldn't that have led to even more chaos?
My brother, that is what we are talking about. If that happened in other parts of the country, in some other parts of the country, they will go and regroup. And another nationwide protest has started. The government does not, we do not need that, as much as that is not what we need right now. I am always the advocate for being able to sit down to have conversations, to be able to see things through the perspective, through the lens of the government. That is where I stand, and most people that know me know that this is what I advocate for. I don't believe that we should go and protest. I don't believe that we should continue to criticize. However, there is a level to all these things. There is a level that, look at the current situation of the country. People are dying. Look at the current situation of the people. People cannot eat. Look at, their income has not improved, has not increased. And the price of commodities, basic commodities, basic, as little as pure water, has increased. Coca-Cola, that the poor man can be working and just used to quench his thirst, has increased. And his income has not increased. In fact, some don't even have an income. A lot of people don't even have income. So where will all these people, after they have gone round and round for a while, and they see that in the same country where they are, they see that some people will go and, burn hundreds of thousands of naira in one night. They see all these things. Nothing is hidden in the society. So if the government does not move quickly to address it, especially now that there is more hardship in the land, especially now that for Nigerians to move from one point to the other has become increasingly difficult because the prices of public transportation have skyrocketed, and there seems to be no solution in sight. Only time will tell. We are sitting on the time bomb, and anything can explode at any time. So I want to advise the government at this time to quickly stand up and begin to address this issues. I call them teething issues, by the way, because what does a poor man really need? Good food on his table, the ability to be able to work on, or to have a place to rest his head. They are not looking for so much luxury like the rich man wants. They don't want so much. Nigerians don't want so much. Nigerians are so patient. Nigerians are so persevering. Nigeria Go Better has been a song that people have been singing since the 1960s. And this is 2014, we are still singing, 2024, we are still singing Nigeria Go Better. When exactly will it be better?
All right,
exactly.
That's a question the Tinubu government is answering already with their policies. Let's see, in good time, maybe we get that answer. All right, the next talking point has to do with NAFDAC's alcoholic beverage ban. Is what we're looking at this. We got the news coming from Lagos that the Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria went on a protest today in Lagos to protest the ban by NAFDAC on alcoholic beverage ban. All right, they say the sachet, those producing it wasn't okay, and so he placed a ban on it. They were not saying it from the angle of saying, okay, it wasn't okay because it leads to multiple road accidents after these drivers. And the funny enough, they say they're going to be working with the National Road Union Association. These are the people who are the consumers. Do you think NAFDAC is taking the right step? Because we saw this when we had to do modular refineries, and the government at the point was trying to get them out of the industry completely until reason prevailed, and I think the vice president then, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, said, okay, better still, why don't we organize them in a better fashion so that we, shouldn't that be the game plan of NAFDAC?
You know, the question is, what is the
sachet?
The sachet, what is the benefit? Because apart from, you know, we are looking at it from the commercial or economic angle
of it.
Yeah. So how much does it contribute to the Nigerian economy?
Yeah.
That's what we should first
the job opportunity creates for
how much
producers.
Job opportunities does it create? Let's say the truth. Most of these people, and which is the reason why NAFDAC, you know, is
placing
going hard on them.
Yeah.
You know, they don't go through, you know, the proper measures. And this is
standard hygiene
that Nigerians consume.
Yeah.
So if it's going to go inside, that means in the next few years, like we already have, we are going to be dealing with a lot of liver problems,
cancer.
A lot of kidney problems, cancer, you know, all of those things. So I think the Food and Drug Administration has moved ahead, you know, to say, let us address this issue. Let us arrest the issue. And it's a way of, you know that when somebody arrests, it's the arrested will, first of all, resist arrest. So it is normal, and I think it's a step in the right direction. The Food and Drug Administration and Control Organization should go ahead, you know, with this, with the support of the federal government. These things have caused harm to many Nigerians. Think about it. What is the process that produces, you know, this sachets, and how many do you have in the markets now? One of the questions I've even asked at some point is, how do these people actually get approval, really? Because today you go to the market and you see 1, 2, 3, 4 products. And next week when you go to the market, you see like 20. There's so much and you don't even know where they are produced from. They will just put one address. Go and check the address. You will really not find them there. So where are they coming from? Where do these things actually come from? What process do they go through? You know, so when they say, let us ban these 200 meals downwards, they're easily saying, for those who go through, if you go through the big bottles, I mean, you will have gone through the process. The body can check how these things are made. So it's a control measure that I believe, you know, will stop. Road accident has caused a lot of things. You know how these people, when they take it, they become charged up. Some of them drive recklessly. Some of them, you know, those who drive, some of them feel motivated, you know, to engage in violence. So these are issues that we need to address. And I believe that NAFDAC has actually taken a step in the right direction.
But looking at the people they chose to work with, how successful do you think this is going to be? Or is this becoming a mockery of the
I think
exercise?
It's not a mockery. I think it is a strategy. You see, one of the things I know about the Lagos state government is that they have a way, you know, of working with people that are supposed to be, situations that are supposed to be problematic.
Okay.
They have a way of, you know, reining them in to control them. And I think maybe it's the strategy. You talk about the transporters, for example. It was a menace in Lagos before. Yes, it hasn't totally stopped, but I mean, it has been arrested too. There is a body to report misbehavior. So,
okay.
No, you see the last man, we know what they were when you get to Oshodi, when you get to Motion, they were everywhere, and they were really causing, and they own those roads, you know. So, but somehow the government have been able to rein them in, maybe because of the nature of the personalities involved. You cannot totally control it, but I mean, to a large extent now, it has been arrested. And you can, if something happens today, you would see the National Union of Road Transport Workers make a statement to say, we do not, you know, so that means it's bringing accountability. So if NAFDAC is able to work with them with respect to this, then I think it will go a long way to control some of the side effects of consumption of small size.
Let's look at the capacity of NAFDAC before we leave that topic completely. Do you think NAFDAC has the capacity to monitor this process and enforce these laws? Because you look at the fact that we had the same issue when it had to do with the sachet water at a point. It looks like NAFDAC now has lost interest in sachet water production, because we've been seeing very many different types of sachet water. Do you think this is sustainable?
If you talk about capacity,
yeah,
NAFDAC has capacity. There was a time in this country.
So why did they lose track
There
of
was
the
a time in this
issue?
country
Yeah.
where we had a minister, where we had a director, Dora Akunyili of blessed memory.
Yeah.
And we know how many things stopped, how many things actually came under control. That organization is supposed to be controlled. You know, Food and Drug Administration had control. So it is, we saw how many things were controlled. We saw how,
But after Dora's death,
that's where I'm going. Well, you know, each individual have a level of capacity. So maybe Madam Mojisola,
Professor Mojisola Adeyeye,
maybe she's doing her bit, you know, but she can only do to her level of capacity. But the institution, because at the end of the day, you know, it's not about the person.
But should it's
about the willpower. It is about the willpower, you know, of the leader to deploy a strategy, you know, that will have impact across all the 36 states.
But shouldn't there have been a template for whoever they were going to bring, knowing fully well that agency needs someone in the Dora mode?
Let me ask you, shouldn't Nigerians, are there no examples, are there no exemplary governors? Yeah. Are there no exemplary House of Representatives members? Are there no exemplary senators who only came to serve the nation and their people? Do people follow that example? You know, so that's we know the answer. So we
like appointment to that role, shouldn't the government be deliberate in whoever they're going to appoint?
So it doesn't mean
instead of getting just an academician to come.
It doesn't mean now that the woman there does not have capacity. Okay. You know, but everybody, your capacity has level. Do you understand? It depends on the vision, individual vision, and sometimes you cannot test a person's vision, especially when it comes to public service, before they come there. You know, they might have some very interesting ideas before they are appointed into. Look at the administration of President Tinubu, and that a lot of people are castigating right now. I've heard people say, well, I expected more, you know, looking at the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, looking at him, you know, the pedigree and, you know, his personality, the kind of people he would appoint into government. Well, I'm not saying that he appointed the wrong people, but I mean, Nigerians expected more, you know, especially looking at the results that we are having with some of the persons that have been appointed into power. Some have been appointed, and we have heard about them since they got into office. So it is the vision. You know, the driver had the vision, and he says, look, come and join me. Let us run on this vision. And one thing about leadership is that it's really about vision. So you paint a picture of where you want to go, and then you have people come and let's run on this journey. Let's go in this direction. Now, it is also the responsibility of that leader to begin to watch everyone, you know, that is traveling along that journey with him. And when he finds out that this person seems not to be traveling in our direction, it is not bad. You have not done anything wrong. Remove them. You know. All
right, let's the last talking point, in case you're just joining us, it's been the desk, and Luke Benga George has actually been hitting the desk hard and good. All right, we look at the last talking point. It has to do with civil service rot. Is the talking point, the illegal payment of funds into private accounts. We know that was well led to a better edu, the better edu's gate. And the big story says the Nigerian MDAs has paid 159 billion naira into private accounts in 6 years. That's against the Chapter 7 subsection 713 of the Nigeria's Financial Regulations 2009, which states that personal money shall in no circumstance be paid into government bank account, nor shall any public money be paid into a private account. So it means that Chapter 7 subsection 713 of the Nigerian Financial Regulation 2009 has constantly been breached since for the last 6 years. Let's look at that. Does that give us an idea that Better Edu's Gate is actually probably the last gate and not the first gate?
Did you say for the last 6 years?
Yeah, well, that's what the reporter.
That rule is in 2009.
No, yes.
Yes, so if you refer back to NFIU of 2009,
National Intelligence,
Financial Intelligence Unit. If we go back to that of 2009 and start to calculate from then, you and me know the answer. You know, every Nigerian knows.
But what does this tell us?
So it tells us, really, that we are very good at making laws in Nigeria.
Okay.
It tells us that we do not have a problem when it comes to making laws. But like we have been hammering from the beginning of this conversation, how serious are we with these laws? Now, interesting thing is the persons who are supposed to actually punish, you know, are the ones found culprits. They are the beneficiaries. You know, it's just like when corruption benefits you, it is blessing in this country. When corruption benefits you, you know, it is the blessing of God. But when it does not benefit you, that is when it is criminal. And that is, it shows how unserious.
We listen, the government is culpable for this because, for instance, we look at the chief of staff, the current chief of staff, Gbajabiamila Miller, was indicted, was fingered in this case. The interior minister, talking about Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, was also involved. And first of all, we had the CCB call him. He said he was on a national assignment. Now we hear the ICPC is investigating him, but he wasn't suspended for a proper investigation to take place. Do you think the presidency is backing him technically?
Let's even begin from the immediate past government of President Muhammad Buhari.
We had Sadia too.
So you had an Accountant General of the Federation who was indicted for over 109 billion.
That's Idris Ahmed.
We had a Minister of Aviation who was indicted Hadi Sirika, who was indicted for 139 billion naira. I mean, how many can we count? This figure is even child's play where I'm concerned. You know, if it's just the second half of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration alone you want to refer to, that administration was full of the highest level of corruption that you can imagine.
But the Mr. President was considered Mr. Righteous.
Please, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there.
Shouldn't you be called to answer questions?
Because that's where I'm going. So, if the administration of President, what I expected, you know, from President Tinubu is that the moment he came into power, that the most recent, even if you can't go back to 2000, of course, I'm also excited because I know that some investigations are going on the ground.
Like the Jimmy Obazi report?
Yes.
That revealed a lot of things?
Yes, you remember the House of Reps Speaker, you know, the $500,000, you know, case. Allegation. It's not an allegation. It's not. It has been confirmed. They are sending him to prison, you know, and that happened way back when. So I know that some of these investigations, to really get the truth out of it, takes time. But those ones that are clear and glaring for everybody to see, we do not need any processes. It is when you start going through process that issues that they begin to cover it up. Once you delay, you know, punishment, you are actually looking for a way to cover it up. So if you don't want to cover, you shouldn't cover anybody. I mean, set deterrent so that people who want to work with you will know. You sink it in their heads. If you go to the former administration and you pick 1, 2, 3, 4, send them to jail. Some countries don't send them to jail, remember. Some
China, they just kill you. Yeah.
So,
because that was one of the talking points, that shouldn't Nigeria adopt the Chinese way,
we are not Chinese,
which helped them clear corruption.
No, we are not Chinese.
But it helped them stop corruption.
I'm not saying we shouldn't kill. I'm not saying we should kill. I mean, that would be a conversation for
another day.
For all Nigerians to come to a referendum with, you know. But we have provisions within our law, and our law, you know, it's very interesting. A lot of people, you know, I've heard lawyers and all of them talk about the 1999 Constitution, how it doesn't serve Nigeria. It is only where politics is concerned. If we actually implement all the rules, all the punishment in the 1999 Constitution as amended, my brother, Nigeria will be far better than what it is right now. But we do not even observe what we call, we do not even observe the provisions of the 1999 Constitution. So what is the provisional constitution for a public servant that is caught, you know, siphoning public funds? Is there no rule? Let us send them to jail. There are several laws, there are excellent laws across different, for financial fraud, for this. There are laws upon laws in Nigeria, and that is why I said, when you say lawmaker cause people to start asking them, it's just another show, and we must get up from being actors, you know, on the stage to being real. Because it is just drama we are acting in this country. It is just pure drama. You know, when people go there, they just learn to be best actors. I think, I'm not even surprised that Nigerian actors are doing well. Because we are very good with acting, honestly. They are very good. We know how to.
Remember the Ponde issue, the off your mic issues.
How many can we refer to? How many can we refer to? You go back to almost every sector. Is it the NDDC you want to talk about? Is it the petroleum sector you want to talk about? Under President Buhari was the Minister for Petroleum.
The man that cut grass for how many months?
No, the grass cutter. There are some. How many can we refer to in that administration alone? So what I expected really as a Nigerian was that President Tinubu would have gone, to the past administration and pick the most recent of the allegations, investigate them, and those who are found culprits, be subjected to the punishment of the law. What does the law say about them? Those who need to go to jail should go to jail. It is not just negotiation, because I know that, those are some of the things we've heard, what are you bargaining for? Is that what the law says? That is, we are encouraging corruption. It says, send them. Let them go to jail. Let them eat beans and don't make them comfortable in jail. Nigerian prison, it is head of fish they are eating, right?
Yeah.
Let them go and eat that. Not that they will have air-conditioned places and they will still be able to sleep with their wives and their concubines. No, we are not talking about. We are saying jail, the kind of jail that you subject the man that steals 5 naira and 10 naira to. Where the poor man is concerned, he's the only one that answers to the law. He's the only one that the hammer of the law hits hard. If you have money in this country, it's very difficult for you. There have been a few exceptions, so I take those exceptions. But if we want to actually improve this country, we must move away from selective justice. Justice must be justice, and it must be done appropriately and accordingly, regardless of whose ox is God.
All right, that's a banging note on that desk Kevin hit. That's what we're going to call it a wrap on today's edition of the program, The Desk. It's always amazing having Olubenga George in the studio. He's firing all cylinders and making sure he says the truth as it is. That's the idea of The Desk, making the truth sound clear. And we hope the relevant authorities, state actors and non-state actors have taken 1, 2, 3 or 5 things away from The Desk this evening, as we hope to, guide Nigeria towards the right path to make Nigeria truly great again. I want to say thank you, Olubenga George. Always a pleasure having you in the studios. All right, I want to say a big thank you to the entire production team for making sure this came out brilliant. I want to say a big thank you to Jackson, the MCR, and every other person, Okun, behind the cameras. My name is Anthony Momodu, saying thank you for being part of The Desk today. Another edition definitely will be coming our way tomorrow. Stay with us.